Hello, good morning friends and welcome back to our channel. Here we are going to study about the international business, which is a very important chapter for the UGC Net Commerce, and in this video we are mainly going to study about the international liquidity, and then we will study about the different organizations which are helping the countries all over the world to promote the international trade, and it encourages them, it assists them in different ways. So the first topic that we have is our international liquidity. It is a combination of a country's readily available supply of foreign currency and the degree to which its assets may be used as a form of payment. In general words, if we see what is liquidity, then liquidity, it means that how far we can convert our assets into cash. Okay, so here we see that how much a country is having the available supply of foreign currency and how much it can convert it to for its trading purpose, how much it can use it for the form of payment. Now country, if it is having a stronger currency, then it will have a greater buying power and it will have more liquidity. Suppose if we compare the currencies of India and USA, so if we are comparing the rupee, Indian rupee and the dollar, then what will happen? Because dollar is much more stronger, it has a higher value as compared to the rupee, then that means that country will have a greater buying power. It can use just $1 to buy more things as we can use our 1 rupee for buying things. So it has more liquidity. Okay, now we have organization which is known as IMF, International Monetary Fund. So here we are going to study that what are the chief components of international liquidity. Suppose if generally we are looking at a company, then for the liquidity what we take the things means what are the liquid assets in a company. It is mainly the cash and the bank balance, then it can be a stock, it can be a prepaid expenses or very short term securities, it can be there. So in the similar manner we have to check that if we are talking about the international liquidity, then what all the components are there that we can include in that. The first thing we have is the gold reserves with the national monetary authorities, that is the central bank, and with the IMF. Whatever the gold reserves are with the central bank or the IMF, that we can take for the international liquidity. If you are a member, if the country is a member of IMF, then that gold reserves can be taken as the international liquidity for that country also. Now the dollar reserves of country other than USA, then the US sterling reserves of country other than UK, because USA currency is dollar and UK currency is sterling. Okay, so we are just leaving this one for USA, and for the other countries can be counted as the international liquidity. Now we have a facility in the International Monetary Fund that that the member countries can draw a certain amount from IMF. So that IMF trying to position that the drawing potential of IMF members is also counted for the purpose of international liquidity. Then fifth one is credit arrangements, bilateral, multilateral credit. Whatever the credit you can take, bilateral and multilateral credit and swap agreements, that all are considered for the purpose of international liquidity. These all are the components, but mainly if we see, then mainly is the gold and the key currencies. Then what are the key currencies? This dollar and the sterling. Okay, the key currencies like dollar and gold, they are of the greater significance for any country. Now the thing is that why do we need this foreign exchange reserves? Why do we need this international liquidity? It is necessary to finance the imbalances between international receipts and payments. We have to finance the payments also, and we are getting receipts also. So if there is an imbalance, we need to have something more. Suppose we need to pay foreign currency more than, or we have earned it, so we need to have to get the source of it. So what is needed to meet the regular flow of payments? To finance shortfall when in any particular country's outpayments exceeded in payment. When you have to pay more and you are receiving less. To meet large withdrawals caused by the outflow of capital. If there is outflow of capital and you have to meet that requirement, then also you need the foreign exchange reserve. Now we are talking about a very important organization, that is IMF, International Monetary Fund, and it was set up after a conference was held in the Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, USA. Okay, and it begins its operations in Washington DC in May 1946. This is going to be very important for you. So May 1946 it started its operations, and it had 39 members then, and now the member is 188 countries. Okay, what happens when you are joining, when any country is joining the IMF, then each member country has to contribute a certain sum of money, and that is called as a quota subscription. When you join that, you have to pay subscription amount, that is known as the quota subscription. As a sort of credit union deposit, means it's deposited in our account there. Now, how did it help IMF? It forms a pool of money that the IMF can draw from and lend to members, because it gets a collection of money, so it can use it to lend to other members. Then from the basis of determining SDRs, what is SDRs? It is special drawing rights, and it depends on the quota subscription that the member country is paying. If it is paying more, then of course it will have more drawing rights, and if it is paying less, then it will have less drawing rights. Determine the voting power of the member. Okay. Now, what are the purposes of this IMF? The first thing is this: it promotes international monetary cooperation. Second, facilitate expansion and balanced growth of international trade. It helps the country to expand the international trade. Maintain orderly exchange arrangements among members to avoid competitive exchange depreciation. It overlooks the arrangements that are done between all the member countries, and if it sees to it that no competition and depreciation of currency is being done by any country. Then it provides the country with the opportunity to correct maladjustment in the BOP without taking measures destructive to national or international prosperity. In the earlier videos, you have seen that when there is a difference in our BOP, the balance is not coming, it's a deficit or surplus amount, then some adjustments have to be done there, because of which we are always getting some or the other problems. So here it helps the country, IMF helps the country to correct the maladjustment they are doing in their BOP, and to avoid taking any such measures that are destructive to their international prosperity. Okay, now the last one is there to shorten the duration and lessen the degree of disequilibrium in the international BOP of members. It helps all the countries, it helps all the member countries that their BOP is in a balanced position, and if it is non-balanced, then it helps them to overcome it as soon as possible. It shortens the duration and the degree of disequilibrium. Now, how does the IMF financially assist their member countries? The IMF lends money to member countries with BOP problem. A member country can immediately withdraw 25% of its quota. Okay, if there is greater difficulty in the BOP, the member country can withdraw up to 3 times its quota if it undertakes to initiate a series of reforms and uses the borrowed money effectively. Here the IMF is telling them a list of things to be done, the reforms to be done, and if they promise to do it, then they can withdraw up to 3 times, and it also sees that they're using the borrowed money in a very good purpose, in a very effectively they're using it, they're not just wasting the money. Then IMF can lend money by 3 things. There are 3 methods by which it lends the money. The first is the standby arrangement, second is extended arrangement, and the third one is structure adjustment mechanism, and here the rate of interest is very low. Okay, so firstly we are going to see at the standby arrangement. Here it is providing the short term BOP assistance. It is for short term, mainly for 12 to 18 months, and quarterly basis you need to pay it out. Then release made conditional. When it is helping, then it is conditional on meeting performance criteria, because it's telling you some criteria, you need to follow it. Then completion of periodic program reviews. IMF conducts some program reviews at how the country is working after that. So you have to complete, the country needs to complete all those criteria. So if the country is facing very macroeconomic difficulty, or it's a structural some problem is there, then this fund is lent by the IMF, and it's generally for 3 years. The third one is a structure adjustment facility, SAF. It was established in 1987 as for the low income member countries with the protected BOP problem, means they are facing the balance of payment problems for a much longer time. The rate of loan is 0.5% here, and it's for 10 years. Okay, Now the next thing is that a special drawing right. It was created in 1969, and sometimes we can call it as the paper gold, but it is not convertible into gold. It has a granted gold value and provides additional liquidity to support for the growing world commerce. Okay, now how can the participant use this? They can use the SDRs as a loan for clearing financial obligation. Then they can use this as security for loan, and it can be used as swap against the currency. Then forward exchange operations you can also use it, and to make payment to fund for repurchases. For repurchases means from the IMF only you need to repurchase this facility that we have done earlier, extending fund facility and structure adjustment, all this. So you can use this fund to make the repurchases payment also. Now the services of IMF, firstly it provides international monetary cooperation to all the member countries. Then it reduces restrictions to trade and capital flows. It ensures that there is no restriction to all this. Then it provides financial support to members as you discussed earlier. It provides technical assistance. It offers training courses also for the member countries. Then it issues wide variety publications where there is much valuable information for all the international trade and how you can just grow your country for a good international trade. All these things are there. The next thing that we have is the World Bank, and this World Bank was established in 1944. It assists in the reconstruction of the territories where the territories are not very good enough, or we can say that it's not it's not developing at a very fast level. Then it helps in the reconstruction of those areas. It promotes private foreign investment. It maintains equilibrium in the BOP by encouraging international investment. Okay, now it arranges loans through other channels also for more useful and urgent projects, not only for the World Bank. If it can arrange from the other mediums, then it also helps us to do that. Now the next topic that we have is for the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. As the name suggests, is mainly concerned for the reconstruction and development of all the countries, mainly the developing countries. It was set up in 1945. Then its capital was subscribed at that time by a government of 151 countries. Okay, then it lends money to a government for developing that country's economic infrastructure. Infrastructure you can include all the things. Suppose the country's roads or roads and railways and everything economically. Now the funds are lent only to the IMF members, and the grace period of 5 years, then maximum 15 years period we have to pay it. Projects receiving IBRD assistance have to import heavy industrial equipment. As is clear from the name also that it is for reconstruction and development. So for economically reconstructing it, for developmenting it, it's a necessity for the condition for the country that they have to import heavy industrial equipment. One thing more that this IBRD started is the WID, Women in Development, and this initiative established in 1988, and it is primarily focusing for increasing the women's productivity and income. It's mainly for the women welfare. Then we have the International Development Association, which was formed in 1960, and it gives loans only to the poorest countries. It mainly emphasizes on improving the urban living conditions, increasing productivity of small industries. Okay, now it has 137 member countries. It receives its funds from subscriptions from developed members and earnings of IBRD. Okay, whatever the developed members are there, it takes subscriptions from those countries and it uses these earnings for the development of the poor countries. Now credit terms for 40 to 50 years with no interest. It's a very good thing. 40 to 50 years is the loan it's giving. Repayment can be done in convertible local currency even after a 10-year grace period. Matlab 40 to 50 years normally you can even take 10 years grace period, and you can repay the loan in your local currency also, as long as it is convertible into foreign currency. Now the next thing we have is the International Finance Corporation, which is IFC. It was established in 1956. 133 member countries are there. And this IFC provides risk capital in the form of equity. It gives long-term loans for private enterprises. It encourages development of capital market by carrying a standby and underwriting arrangement. Underwriting arrangement, you all must be knowing. It does the underwriting work. It provides technical and financial assistance also. It gives loans to the countries for a period of 7 to 12 years. The next organization that we have is the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, also known as the MIGA. Established in 1988, it encourages equity and other direct investment flows. It offers guarantee against non-commercial risk. As is clear from the name, it offers guarantee against non-commercial risk. It advises member government on the design and implementation of the foreign investment policies. It mainly guides them that how they should formulate these policies. The next organization we have is the ADB, Asian Development Bank. It was established in 1966 by the 31 members to promote social and economic progress of Asian and the Pacific region, mainly for the Asia continent and the Pacific continent. There are now 57 members, and its function is to mainly extend the loans for an equity investment for economic progress. Okay. Now we have the World Trade Organization, WTO, which is a very famous organization, and it was earlier a GATT agreement, GATT, GATT agreement was there, and then after it got converted into this WTO, and WTO came into effect on January 1, 1995. And here it is designed to, is like a watchdog, is keeping an eye on all the member countries for the trade of goods and services, how they're doing it for an investment, then IPRs, intellectual property rights. It's just keeping a look on all the member countries at how the countries are performing in all these areas. Here we are going to look the role of WTO in international trade. The first thing is that it liberalizes international trade. Okay, it has 153 member countries now. It makes certain rules regarding international trade, and also sees that these rules are being obeyed by all the countries. Then what happens here for the rules, the developed countries, because of course they have a greater say in the WTO also, so they unfairly retain the trade barriers for their countries, but the WTO rules, they are forcing it on the developing countries, and they need to remove their trade barriers. So it's just a negative point for the developed countries and the developing countries. Now the function of WTO are implementation, administration and operation of multilateral trade agreements. It looks at how the trade agreements are being done, it implements them and makes it operational. Then the negotiations among members concerning their trade relations. It gives a chance to all the members to make negotiations and helps them. It administers trade policy review mechanism. It also cooperates with the IMF and the IBRD. Then the objectives of WTO. The first objective is to implement the new world trade system, the globalization that we have started in 1991, to mainly make that operational. Promotes world trade. It ensures that developing countries also are getting the benefits of the international trade. Means they are not only being exploited by the international trade, they also get the benefits of that. It increases the level of production and productivity in the whole world. It helps to expand and utilize the world resources to the best. Then it improves the level of living of the people in all the countries, means at a global level. Okay, so here we have read about all the organizations that are helping the member countries for the international trade. They are assisting them, they are helping them, they are funding them in whatever way they can help them. And the motive of all these organizations is that the whole world becomes globalized, and all the resources are used at an optimum level. Okay, so this is completed for now. Thanks a lot. And the next video we would be doing the components of international trade. Means there we will be talking about the import, export and all these things. Okay, thanks a lot.